Yo, what is going on, fight fans? In today's episode, we're going to break down the entire card of UFC 300. We're going to start with the early prelims, work our way up to the main card. There are a ton of really good fights. A couple fights I don't particularly care for, but all in all, UFC 300 is an amazing card, and we kick off UFC 300 early prelims with former champion Cody Garbrandt going against another former champion in Deiveson Figueiredo. This fight is going to be absolutely insane. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, if you haven't yet, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow. If you like football content, if you like MMA content, all sports content right here on the Jay All Day Show, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. All right, this fight between Figueiredo and Garbrandt, I honestly would have liked this fight to open up the main card, not the early prelims. This Bo Nickal fight on the main card, he's a minus 3,000 favorite. I don't love that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. I didn't realize how old Deiveson Figueiredo was, 36. Cody Garbrandt's still only 32 years old, which is when most UFC fighters are kind of hitting their prime a little bit. He peaked pretty early, and honestly, guys, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights with losses to Rob Font and getting knocked out by Kai Kara France at 125 pounds. He beat Trevin Jones and Brian Kelleher, but let's be honest, those dudes are dumpster fire fighters. They're not very good. Deiveson Figueiredo's kind of been up and down too. He got submitted by Brandon Moreno, then he beat Moreno, and then he got TKO'd by Brandon Moreno, and then he won his last fight against Rob Font at 135 pounds. So this fight takes place at 135 pounds. And honestly, there's a bet that I really like under 1.5 rounds. It's like plus 155. Under 2.5 is probably about even, right? So someone's getting knocked out. And I'm putting some money on that it's Cody Garbrandt. I want to see what the knockout odds are on Deiveson Figueiredo as we move closer to this fight. They haven't been released on Bovada yet. I live in Cali, so we can't use DraftKings. But man, Cody Garbrandt's chin is not very good. And if he's going to want to get in a dogfight with Deiveson Figueiredo, he's going to lose that dogfight. Figueiredo punches way harder than any of the guys he's fought. If he got KO'd early by Kai Kara France, Deiveson Figueiredo punches way harder than him, dude. I do not like this fight for Cody Garbrandt, a guy who punches this hard. I don't see Cody Garbrandt getting into that upper echelon at 135 pounds ever again. His chin's just not there anymore. Figueiredo's going to test that chin, and he's going to win by knockout. I'm saying early second round. All right, UFC fans, let's move on to the next fight. We got a great one between Jim Miller and Bobby Green, two really old fighters. So who's going to win this fight, man? This is a big step up in competition for Jim Miller and who he's been fighting lately. Nicholas Mota, Donald Cerrone, Alexander Hernandez, Jesse Butler, Gabriel Benitez. Bobby Green's a lot better of a fighter than these guys are. He's got way better hands, but Jim Miller's a good wrestler. He's got really good leg kicks. He got KO'd by Jaylen Turner, which was a gross KO, man. That fight should have been stopped way earlier. So will Bobby Green be able to bounce back after getting smoked by Jaylen Turner? I don't know, but Jim Miller is 40. He'll be 41 in a couple months, guys. Bobby Green's not much younger, 37 and 7 months. He'll be 38 before you know it. This fight is probably about even, in my opinion. Bobby Green's a slight favorite, minus 190. I like Bobby Green to win this fight. I just think he's going to be too fast to the punch. Jim Miller is just old, man. But what he's been able to accomplish in his career has been amazing. 37 pro wins. The dude is an absolute G. I love Jim Miller. It's great that he was able to get on to a fight at UFC 300, but I think Bobby Green is going to be too quick, too fast. And actually, Bobby Green's sprawling and his takedown defense is pretty good. I just think he has more path to victory than Jim Miller does. Maybe Miller wins a decision, but I think Bobby Green's going to outpoint him. He's going to win a decision, probably like 29-28. I'm going to go with Bobby Green to win this fight. The next fight on this card, Jessica Andrade, Marina Rodriguez. This is another really good fight. It's an even fight. Minus 110 on both sides. But Jessica Andrade just has not looked good 2 wins in her last 5 fights. She had a 3-fight losing streak. Erin Blanchfield beat her. Jan beat her, and Tatiana Suarez. These are all pretty good fighters, and she won her last fight against Mackenzie Dern, which was a very impressive performance. But Marina Rodriguez is not that much better. She also beat Mackenzie Dern. She won a split decision versus Jan. I just like Marina Rodriguez in this fight. I just think Jessica Andrade, she just doesn't look very good at this point in her career. She is only 32 years old, almost 4 years younger than Marina Rodriguez. But Marina Rodriguez, 17-3-2 in her professional career. I just like her fighting style. She's a lot taller, 5'6" to 5'1", 3-inch reach advantage. I don't know how many more fights Jessica Andrade has left in the tank, guys. She's never going to be a champion again. She just broke that 3-fight losing streak not too long ago, but she's fought 5 times in the last year and 2 months. That's a lot of fights, man. That's definitely going to go against her, in my opinion. I think Marina Rodriguez wins a decision. I think she wins a pretty handled decision, 30-27 for Marina Rodriguez. And the final fight on the early prelims is Jaylen Turner versus Renato Moicano. This is going to be a fun fight, but Jaylen Turner is a dog, man. He's got those leg kicks. That high kick that he hit Dan Hooker in the face with, that he ate somehow, still just blows my mind. I don't understand how Dan Hooker was able to go on and win that fight and crawl back and get a decision. But man, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He lost to Garbrandt. I thought he won that fight. He lost 2 split decisions. This guy could very well have won 5 out of his last 5 fights. Moicano has 2 really good wins. Drew Dober and Brad Riddell. Brad Riddell is kind of on a slide, though. He's not as good as he used to be. And losing to RDA, an old, washed RDA. I agree with the odds here. Jaylen Turner, minus 225 is about right. Moicano is going to be 35 in a couple months, and Jaylen Turner is a dog, man. He's going to use that length, 75.5-inch reach to 72-inch reach for Moicano. How Jaylen Turner makes 155 pounds at 6'3". Moicano is a big 155 or 5'11". He's a big dude for 155 pounds. And Jaylen Turner, and he's gotten more muscular as he's gotten a little bit older. I don't know how much longer Jaylen Turner is going to be able to make 155 pounds. But if he can keep making it, he's going to stay in that top 10, in my opinion, for sure. He's ranked number 9 in the world right now. Moicano's ranked number 10. This is going to be a fun fight, but I think Jaylen Turner is going to finish him. I'm saying late 2nd round, middle of the 3rd round, somewhere like that. I just think Jaylen Turner's length and his ability to use all these different weapons. Moicano is not the smoothest striker in the world. He's an okay fighter. Him being able to beat Dober really impressed me. He was able to avoid Dober's power, so he's going to have to do that with Jaylen Turner. But Jaylen Turner has a lot better kicks. He uses his reach a lot more effectively than Drew Dober does. Drew Dober's pretty much just a boxer. He doesn't really have crazy high leg kicks like Jaylen Turner does. I just love Jaylen Turner in this fight. And I look for Jaylen Turner to get a big win here, turn around quick, and fight one of these top guys again. I would love to see that Dan Hooker fight again, but I think he's going to work his way towards the top 5 in 2024. I love Jaylen Turner to wrap up the early prelims with a KO. I'm saying 2nd round knockout for Jaylen Turner to beat Moicano. Let's kick off the prelim card with an amazing fight. Diego Lopez has really come on the scene lately. Sadik Yusuff is a really good fighter as well. Diego Lopez, he almost beat Movsar Evelev, man. That was a really, really, really close fight, and I would like to see that fight again down the road once this kid gets some more experience. He is a little older than I thought, 29 years old. Sadik Yusuff, he's one of the most fun fighters to watch in this 145-pound division. Sadik Yusuff is an absolute G. Sadik Yusuff is a fun fighter to watch as well. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's got wins over guys like Andre Fili and Alex Caceres, both really, really good fighters. This fight is pretty even too. Vegas has Diego Lopez as a slight favorite, minus 140. Diego Lopez's ground game is unbelievable. So Yusuff has lost to Arnold Allen by decision and losing to Edson Barboza. Not a good look because Edson Barboza is an old man these days. Sadiq Yusuff is 30 years of age. He'll be 31 in a couple months. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch this fight. And Diego Lopez just has to avoid Sadiq Yusuff's hands. He's really, really good on the feet. His 3 wins, he's pretty much a decision machine. He's got 1 submission, but there's no way he's submitting Diego Lopez. I just think Diego Lopez has a lot more cleaner paths to victory than Yusuff does. He's won 4 out of his last 5. There's a KO there, a KO there. Lost to Evil. He almost submitted him. And then another submission and another KO. So the dude's got power. His power's been really coming along in his last couple of fights. You really, really see it. And he's one of the best submission ground guys at 145 pounds. I think he's going to win by submission in the second round. He's going to tire him out a little bit in the first round, and maybe he even clips him in the first round, drops him, and then goes in for a submission. I don't know if he's going to get a knockout, but if he hurts him on the feet, he's going to go get that submission. I just don't think Sadiq Yusuff has the tools to win this fight. I mean, his stand-up game, he lost to Barboza, who is, almost pushing 40. I don't know if Yusuff is going to be a top 5 guy, top 10 guy in the world at 145 pounds. I like him. I just like Diego Lopez a lot more. I think he has more ways to win. His power is really coming through. It's really translating in his last 5 fights. And his ground game is like second to none at 145 pounds. So I like Diego Lopez, second round submission to get the W as we kick off the prelims at UFC 300. The next fight on the prelims is one of my favorites, Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Harrison is the judo expert who is fighting in PFL forever. She's won 4 out of her last 5 fights. She's a good fighter. She's not transcendent, in my opinion. She's a beast, dude. I don't know if she's going to be able to make the weight, 135 pounds. We'll see. She definitely has more of a 145-pound frame, but that weight division in the UFC and in women's combat sports in general, there's just not a ton of women who can fill out that 145-pound weight division, because if you're fighting at 145, that means you're walking around 155, 160, and there's not a ton of girls that size, man. But Holm is old as shit. She's 42 and a half years old. Kayla Harrison, 33. They're almost 10 years difference in age. I just think Kayla Harrison, if she makes weight, that's what we have to watch out for. Is she going to be able to make weight? And will Holly fight her if she doesn't make weight? She probably will, because Holm is as tough as they come. But I think Kayla Harrison is just going to be able to get a hold of Holm, use those judo throws, get her to the ground, and possibly armbar her, rear naked choke, something along the lines there. She's got a decision, a KO win, a submission, arm triangle choke. Then she lost a decision, and then she won and beat Aspen Ladd, who's not very good by decision. So she's not a super talented fighter. I think she's been hyped up a little bit too much. She's definitely not an Amanda Nunes superstar type. She's big, she's strong, and, her body is crazy, man. It's like, she is just absolutely jacked. But Holm is so old. But could Holm use her boxing? In the last fight, Holm had trouble getting off the fence. And if she had trouble getting off the fence, what was that? Was that the Brandon Silva fight? Yeah, I think it was. Where she was getting, pressed up against the fence the whole fight, and she couldn't get off the fence. If she's having trouble with Mayra Buena Silva doing that, Kayla Harrison is bigger, stronger, more physical. I just think she's going to have a tough time staying off her back, tough time staying off that fence. I think Kayla Harrison's going to win a decision here, 30-27, 29-28, something like that. So if you're looking for a prop bet, Harrison by decision seems like the bet to make. She's a pretty heavy favorite, almost minus 500. This is a fight, juice-wise, I'm staying away from. I don't love this fight. The next 2 fights on the prelims are absolute bangers. I wish either one of these fights would have replaced that Bo Nickal fight. Bo Nickal does not deserve to fight on the main card at UFC 300. He's fought a bunch of tomato cans that aren't even ranked in the top 30 in the UFC, and now all of a sudden he's opening up UFC 300. I think that's a bunch of horseshit. So I would much rather see Aljo versus Calvin Kattar to open up that 300 card, or Prochazka versus Alexander Rakis. Two former champions in Prochazka and Aljo. They put the work in. They deserve to be on UFC 300 main card. He might be great, but he hasn't fought anybody good. And Cody Brundage is a bum, dude. Minus 3,000 favorite on the opening fight for UFC 300. Give me a goddamn break. All right, before I lose my mind and my head blows off my shoulders, I want to talk about Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Calvin Kattar is a really good boxer, man. He has some of the best boxing in the UFC until he ran into Max Holloway, who is an unbelievable boxer, right? Calvin Kattar is a top 5 boxer in this division. He's got really good hands, and Aljo's chin is a little suspect. We've seen him get dropped by Moraes. He got dropped by Sugar Sean. So if Calvin Kattar can hit him clean, he could hurt Aljo. Aljo has to be patient to win this fight. That's why he lost his belt to Sugar Sean, because he lunged in like a dipshit and got cracked. So he's got to fight a lot smarter, a lot more calm, a lot more calculated if he wants to beat Calvin Kattar. He's moving up to 145 pounds, so these guys punch a lot harder. Calvin Kattar is a lot bigger dude than Sugar Sean O'Malley. Their punching power is probably around the same. Sean is obviously a little longer, but Calvin Kattar is a lot more compact. His punches go from A to B really, really quickly, man. He's got really good jab, really solid right hand. I like Calvin Kattar in this fight. Aljo is coming off that knockout loss to Sugar Sean O'Malley. To me, this fight is about even. The odds makers have it pretty much even too. Minus 140 on the favorite end for Aljo, plus 120 juice coming in for the underdog, Calvin Kattar. But Calvin Kattar has not looked good in his last 5 fights. 3 losses, only wins over Dan Ige and Giga Chikadze. He's lost to Max Holloway, lost to Josh Emmett, and lost to Arnold Allen. Those guys are all really top of the food chain guys at 145 pounds, don't get me wrong. I think this fight's going to go to a decision. I think it's going to be a really close fight. But Aljo's got to fight way smarter, man. If he's going to fight like he fought Sugar Sean, rushing in, lunging in. When he lunged in and got cracked by that overhand right, he was super overextended. He threw a punch from no man's land. No protection. He lunged. His face was there clean to hit. And bing! Sean O'Malley just ended his championship reign. I think it's going to be a close fight. But I do think Aljo's wrestling is going to kind of give him an advantage in this fight. I look for Aljo to win a decision like 29-28. But we'll really see if Aljo's wrestling and strength translate to 145 pounds. Because if he can't take down Calvin Kattar, he's really going to struggle to take down some of these other guys at 145 pounds. It looks like Merab and Sean O'Malley is next at 135 pounds. Aljo's big for 135. So we'll see what happens. I'm leaning towards Aljo. This fight could easily end in a split decision. I'm leaning towards Aljo barely. 29-28, 3-round decision for Aljo. Let's move on to the final fight of the prelims. That's Yuri Prochazka, the former champ, and Alexander Ratchik. Prochazka's won 4 out of his last 5. Big wins over Sibe Dalloway, Ozdemir, Dominic Reyes, Glover Teixeira. I mean, the 205-pound division is definitely one of the weaker divisions in the UFC for sure. Rakic 3-2, Jimmy Manuel win, Anthony Smith win. If you can't finish Anthony Smith, I don't know about that. He got KO'd from a leg injury by Blachowicz, and then he lost a split decision to Volkan Ozdemir. I think Yuri Prochazka gets back in the win column. He's just a far superior fighter, in my opinion. And Alexander Ratchik has dealt with a ton of injuries in his career. And I think his body's starting to fail him a little bit. And Prochazka punches super hard. He's got great kicks, great elbows, great spinning attacks. I just think all this is going to be too much. If you can't finish a guy like Anthony Smith, who's looked terrible in his last few fights, you're going to have trouble beating a guy like Yuri Prochazka. And I think Prochazka is going to learn from that Alex Pereira loss. That was a really close fight before he ended up getting KO'd. He got caught coming in. That fight will be fun to run back. If Yuri Prochazka wins here and Pereira wins against Jamahal Hill in the main event, we could see them run that fight back for the 205 strap. I like Yuri Prochazka to win by finish. I'm going 3rd round TKO for Yuri Prochazka. He's going to get back in the win column and get one step closer to getting that rematch with Alex Pereira and getting his belt back at 205. All right, everyone, let's move on to the main card at UFC 300. Thanks so much, everyone, for sticking with me. Now it's time for the UFC 300 main card, and it starts out with an absolute stinker. Cody Brundage, Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal, it's at minus 2,500 now, but yesterday I saw it at minus 3,000. That's like a 99% implied probability pretty much. I just hate this fight. I would like it if it was on the early prelims or on the regular prelims, but to open up UFC 300, which is supposed to be a monumental card, with a minus 3,000 favorite, this guy has won one fight in his last 5. It says 2, but he won by a DQ. He's actually only won one fight in his last 5. And he had 3 losses in a row to a bunch of bums, man. This fight sucks. A bunch. Bo Nickal has got 4 wins under the UFC banner, 2 actually in the UFC. The combined wins for the 2 guys he fought in the UFC, 2-9. Pickett and Val Woodward, they suck. Pickett has lost 6 fights in a row. Pickett is trash. Val Woodward does not deserve to be in the UFC. These guys are not top 50 fighters in the UFC at this weight division. They're just not. Bo Nickal, at 185 pounds, needs to fight better guys. If you're going to put him on UFC 300, give him a top 10 guy, a top 15 guy, not Cody Brundage, minus 3,000. Give me a break. This is a lose-lose situation for Bo Nickal. If he goes out there and he smokes Cody Brundage, who probably will be out of the UFC if he loses this fight, okay, you beat another tomato can. Whoop-de-frickin-do, bro. And then, if you lose or you look like trash against Cody Brundage, you're going to be like, well, his stock is plummeting. The dude's a great wrestler. He's a little sloppy on the feet. He overextends his punches. And who knows, maybe Cody Brundage keeps it tight. He waits for him to overextend and counters with a big left hook and cracks Bo Nickal. Maybe that happens. But it's a lose-lose situation. To put him on this platform, fighting a guy like Brundage at minus 3,000 odds, I would love to see Cody Brundage go out there and make this a fight. That would be awesome. But it's a lose-lose situation for Bo Nickal. It's a lose-lose situation for the UFC and wanting to make Bo Nickal a star. It's time to have this dude fight better people. He's not 22 years old. He's not Raul Rojas Jr. He's not 24, 21, 22. The dude's 28 years old. He'll be 29 by the next time he fights. It's time to ramp it up a little bit, UFC. Let's move on to the next fight. I'm not even going to give a prediction for this fight. That's how much I hate it. Charles Oliveira versus Armen Tsarukyan. This is going to be a really fun fight, man. Charles Oliveira bounced back from that loss to Islam Makhachev with a big win over Beneil Dariush. He must hit so goddamn hard because he puts people's lights out, man. He really, really, really does. There's 3 wins against Chandler, Poirier, and Justin Gaethje. All very, very impressive wins. But he is getting up there in age a little bit. 34 and a half. Tsarukyan's much younger, 27 and a half. Tsarukyan's a pretty moderate favorite, minus 225. I thought it would be like minus 150, minus 175 for Armen, but Armen is tough. He's a grinder, man. He's not going to get clipped and fall to his back like Charles Oliveira does. He's going to fight through the storm. He's very tough. He's scary good. He's very, 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 very tough. He's won 4 out of his last 5. He lost his decision to Garbrandt. For Garbrandt, this is aging pretty good because he's got 3 good wins after that. But this will really let us know where Armen Tsarukyan is. He fought Islam Makhachev before to a close fight. He was really young when that fight happened. And is Charles Oliveira going to get that rematch with Islam? He's got to win this fight if he wants that rematch. And he's got to win it in emphatic fashion. Because if Justin Gaethje goes out there and has a good performance against Max Holloway, I guess he's next. I mean, the 155-pound division really pisses me off because now that Islam's champion, he hasn't fought one guy who actually fights at 155 pounds. The belt is just like being held hostage. The dude fights once a year. He fought Volkanovski twice. He hasn't even fought a 55er in like 2 years. It's ridiculous. But I like Armen Tsarukyan to probably win a decision. He might actually win by stoppage. Because we all know if Charles Oliveira gets clipped, he does that fall on his back thing, kind of pulls guard, and tries to figure it out on his back while he gets his shit together. I don't love that style. I don't know how much I like the dog in him. Charles Oliveira is very good at being the hammer, but he's not very good at being the nail, and that's why I like Armen Tsarukyan to win this fight. I'm going second round TKO stoppage for Armen Tsarukyan, and possibly leapfrogging Justin Gaethje and getting that rematch with Islam. Now, let's move on to the most fun fight of the evening, without a doubt, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt. This fight, in my opinion, makes legitimately zero sense for anyone involved. For the UFC, for Justin Gaethje, for Max Holloway. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be fucking awesome, because it's absolutely going to be incredible to watch. This fight is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait for this fight. I think it's 3 rounds. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments below. I'm not sure if this is 3 rounds or 5 rounds. But either way, it's going to be a barn burner. For Max Holloway to win this fight, he's going to have to avoid those leg kicks. Volkanovski had a ton of success with leg kicks against Max Holloway. And Max Holloway has really skinny-ass legs, dude. It's not going to take a lot of those Justin Gaethje devastating leg kicks to really compromise Max Holloway. Max Holloway already does not have a ton of power. Great volume striker, great boxer, very elusive with his head movement, but he kind of leaves a lot of weight on that lead leg. And Justin Gaethje, that's going to be the game plan. It's going to be to tear up that lead leg. And he's absolutely going to be launching leg kick missiles at Max Holloway. But on the counter side of that, Max Holloway doesn't have to worry about getting taken down at all whatsoever. Justin Gaethje is not going to shoot for a takedown at all. So he can pretty much work his outside game, try to use that jab, 1-2s to keep Justin Gaethje at bay. If he can avoid the leg kicks, Max Holloway has a serious chance of winning this fight. But if Justin Gaethje can kind of get inside, land those leg kicks, land those uppercuts, and he also unleashed some leg kicks on Dustin Poirier that put his ass to sleep. So if he can continue to evolve as a striker, implement those high kicks, those body kicks with those leg kicks, Justin Gaethje is going to be a fucking problem for a lot of people at 155 pounds, whether he moves up to 170. I think he has a better chance of winning the belt probably at 170 than he does at 155, because Islam is a G. His wrestling's super good. I like Justin Gaethje's chances of beating Leon Edwards more than I do of him beating Islam Makhachev. Let me know in the comments below, who do you think is going to win this fight? Do you think Justin Gaethje is going to win this fight or Max Holloway? I've been going back and forth. I just think Justin Gaethje at this point in his career has more weapons than Max Holloway. Holloway doesn't use leg kicks a lot, and the leg kicks that he does use are not super powerful. He's not putting people to sleep with leg kicks. He's a volume guy. He wants to Nate Diaz you and volume you to death. But on the flip side of that, Justin Gaethje has been hittable over his career. He's got hit hard by pretty much everybody he's fought at one point or another. But Justin Gaethje is just a lot bigger. I just think Max Holloway, he's been putting on a little bit of size, but I just think Gaethje probably walks around 180 pounds, man. Max Holloway probably walks around 165, 170. Gaethje's significantly bigger. Their reach is very similar, 70 inches for Gaethje, 69 inches. They're both 5'11". I like Justin Gaethje to win this fight by decision. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a lot of fun. People are going to get rocked. There's going to be big shots landed. I really just think those calf kicks are going to be too much to deal with for Max Holloway. If he can fight southpaw, say he comes out southpaw and fights him southpaw, that could be a very interesting strategy for Max Holloway to implement. Holloway can fight out of both stances, but he likes to fight with that left leg forward so he can land his right hand. I just think it's going to get chewed up, man. Justin Gaethje by decision. Let's move on. All right, everybody, we move on to the strawweight title fight, the co-main event for UFC 300. We have Zhang versus Yan. They're both 3-2 in their last 5 fights. Zhang is a huge favorite, minus 420. It's a little bigger odds than I initially thought this fight was going to be. They're both 34 years of age. both 115 pounds. Zhang is 5'4", Yan is 5'5". Both have 63-inch reach. Team Alpha Male versus Black Tiger Fight Club. Team Alpha Male, they're better wrestlers, so I think Yan's got to use her wrestling to win this fight. But Weili Zhang is a really good fighter. She's an excellent striker, man. Really tight boxing, great leg kicks. She's an absolute savage, man. I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people think. Maybe like 48-47, 49-46. This is a title fight, so it's going to be 5 rounds. So we'll really get to see what these ladies are made of. But if Yan won this fight by decision, I wouldn't be surprised. Minus 420 is heavy juice to lay on Weili. I would never touch that at minus 420. Women's fights, huge favorites. I don't love those odds. I think Zhang is probably going to win a decision. I'm going to say 48-47 decision, but it's going to be a close fight. I would not bet on this fight at all whatsoever. I think Zhang's boxing and kickboxing is going to be a little bit too much for Yan. That's my thoughts on this fight. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, guys, we get the main event for UFC 300. Probably not the main event we were looking for. I wish Chandler and McGregor were the main event, with Pereira and Jamahal being the co-main event. And then we could have bumped everyone down the card. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Alex Pereira, Jamahal. Pereira's a slight favorite at minus 150. A lot of people like Joe Rogan think Jamahal has a solid chance of winning this fight. Pereira is very much a one-trick pony with those leg kicks and the kickboxing. He's not going to wrestle you at all whatsoever, but I look for Pereira to tear up those legs. Jamahal's coming off that leg injury. For me, Alex Pereira is going to target those legs, man. Calf kicks, thigh kicks. Then when he's going down low with the calf kicks, and then he's going to switch it, go up high for the head kick. I think Pereira is going to win this fight pretty easily, in my opinion. I think second or third round stoppage for Alex Pereira. Jamahal's coming off an injury. He hasn't been out long enough to be 100%, in my opinion. He's coming into this fight pretty confident, guys. But, man, Pereira and those leg kicks, he just destroys people's legs. You saw him do it to Adesanya twice. But Pereira also, his chin is not the best. Jamahal probably punches a little bit harder than Adesanya. So if Jamahal, he could find a big right hand and end this fight. But from a point perspective, I like Pereira to just nip away at those calves, kind of limit his mobility. And if your mobility is limited against Alex Pereira, you are a sitting duck and you're going to get finished. I'm looking at third round TKO stoppage for Alex Pereira. I think he wins this fight, and then he fights Yuri Prochazka next. Jamahal has a chance to win. Don't get me wrong. And Jamahal's a dog, man. He's coming to this fight to be in a barn burner. He's not coming in this fight to point you. He's coming to take Pereira's head off. But I think Jamahal is going to go head hunting for Pereira and then get picked apart. Israel Adesanya is a world-class kickboxer. Jamahal is not a world-class kickboxer, in my opinion. Pereira, I just think those leg kicks are going to be too much. Those calf kicks are going to really limit Jamahal's mobility. He only needs to land 3, 4, 5 of them, and then Jamahal's going to be in deep shit. And if you're a sitting duck against Pereira, you're in serious trouble. Can he take him down? Pereira is very susceptible to the takedown. Blachowicz can take him down. Israel Adesanya took him down. Jamahal can definitely take him down. If I'm Jamahal, early in this fight, I want to wear on Alex Pereira. I want to press him up against the fence. I want to try to take him down, have some of that blood build up in his arms a little bit so he's not as dangerous on the feet. You got to make this a dogfight. If you're going to sit on the outside with Alex Pereira, you're going to get knocked the hell out. But if you make it a dogfight, you get inside, you use your elbows, some dirty boxing, clinch work, you could be in this fight. But for me, I'm going Alex Pereira, third round TKO. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like my picks? Do you hate my picks? If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps our channel grow. We appreciate you guys staying with us for this long-ass video. Enjoy UFC 300. It's going to be a lot of fun. Peace.